Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin our 130 weapons demonstration. To start things off, we're going to have Mr. Beckman's shoot off around. We'll be a little loud, so if you have sensitive hearing, please cover your ears. Okay folks, so we are the Living History staff, and we're going to demonstrate for you the different types of firearms you would have seen used in the siege and battle of the Alamo. Now the men inside the Alamo garrison on the morning of March 6, 1836 had different types of firearms available to them. They had rifles, muskets, shotguns, and the artillery. But we're focusing on the small arms, and we're going to begin with the more common weapon you would have seen on the frontier at this time, which is what Miss Smith has. She has a civilian hunting rifle. So this is a hunting firearm. And again, you're going to see a lot of these being used out here on the frontier. In fact, this would be a type of weapon that Colonel Crockett would have had with him. Men coming here from Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia that are coming to help in this war, and men living out here, because again, it's a hunting weapon. And it is a rifle firearm. So it has rifling in the bore. Well, what is rifling? Well, rifling is a series of cut grooves, it's typically 7, that were cut into the bore of the barrel, and they twist all the way down to the breech. And what that will do is when you fire the lead ball, and it's all lead ball at this time, it's going to grab that rifling and impart a spin on the ball as it exits the barrel. And a spinning ball is going to go straight and give you greater range. So these hunting rifles, they were known for having a range between 3 up to 400 yards. Okay, they were very accurate. In fact, Colonel Crockett was quoted as saying, "If I can see it, I can hit it." He was an excellent shot. And a lot of men were on the frontier at that time. He had to be so. Now, the issue with firearms at this time was loading these weapons. It's not something that we're accustomed to today, but all firearms of this period were called muzzle loaders, meaning that the gunpowder and ball have to be pushed down the barrel to load the weapon. So they take a little time to load. Especially with rifled weapons, these take even longer to load. Because of the rifling in the bore, it was really hard pushing the ball down the barrel because it's a tight fit. And it's got to be a tight fit for the ball to grab the rifling. So you have to force it all the way down to the breech. So people on the frontier who are using hunting firearms in this war would carry a shooting bag, and that would contain tools you need to keep the weapon clean, keep it functioning. We are dealing with black powder, it's very dirty. And also in the bag you would have tools to make your ammunition, because on the frontier you would have to make the round lead shot. Now attached to the bag is the powder horn. This would hold the gunpowder. It's the best way to keep it from getting wet. And also attached to the bag is the powder measure. Now some are mechanical, but typically on the frontier is the tip of a deer antler or an animal bone that's been cut and hollowed out. So you'd measure out your gunpowder with the powder measure, you'd pour that into the barrel, you then get a cut piece of cloth or a patch that's greased with some type of animal fat, typically bear grease. You place the patch on the muzzle, put the ball on top of that, pull out the ramrod, and you shove it in, okay? And when you push it into the muzzle, the patch will wrap around the ball. Now again, the difficulty is seating it at the breech. You have to force it all the way down. So that patched ball's got to sit on top of the powder. Once you seat it, you put the ramrod back in place, open the priming pan, pour gunpowder out of the horn into the pan, shut it, and you're ready to go. And that's for one shot, okay? And that whole process of loading a hunting rifle can take up to a minute for one shot. And that was the downside. They take way too long to load. But the upside was its accuracy and range. And when this war erupts in Texas, men are grabbing what they have. A lot of them showed up with their hunting firearms. And they used them with pretty good effect against the Mexican army in this war. So Miss Smith is going to demonstrate loading and firing this hunting rifle. She's going to do 3 shots. So again, folks, it's going to be a little loud. If you have sensitive hearing, please cover the ears. Yeah, a little bit. Be all right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, folks, so to the other weapon you would see used here, and this would be the primary weapon used in the siege and battle of the Alamo, and that is the soldier's firearm, which is the musket. Now, if any man were to join the army at this time and he was placed in line infantry, this is the weapon he will be issued. And these are what we call smooth bore. So that means there's no rifling in the barrel of the musket. So the barrel of this weapon is basically a pipe. Now, if you fire an unpatched ball out of a smooth bore firearm, the ball is going to rattle down the barrel. And whatever end it hits on the muzzle, the ball can go the opposite direction. So to give us the straight line shot that we need, the soldier would be issued paper cartridges. So this would have the ball and gunpowder rolled up in a paper tube. So it's all there. And the paper is the wadding. This will help keep the ball from rattling down the barrel, giving us the straight shot that we need. Now, because these are not rifled, the ball is just flying out there. After about 100 yards, the ball, it will begin to turn much like a knuckleball does in baseball. Up, down, left, right, we don't know where it's going to go. So if we hit anything beyond that range, it'll be by pure luck. So to make up for the inaccuracy of this weapon is why armies would have their infantry stand in a line, elbow to elbow, and we have them all fire together at once in mass volleys. Doing that, we're going to hit more of the enemy on the battlefield. If the enemy is doing it to us, same thing. So the battlefield at this time is about speed of loading. And that is why we use the musket over the rifle. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the hunting rifle, it can take up to a minute to load one shot. Well, the trained soldier with the musket, he should load this under 20 seconds. So he should be getting 3, possibly 4 shots a minute, compared to 1 with rifled firearms. And the battlefield is speed of loading. If we can fire more lead at the enemy, we're going to drive them off and take the field. That was more important than accuracy. Now, the morning of this battle, we know that every man within the Alamo garrison would have had his own weapon that he had brought with him, but up to 4 muskets loaded next to him that morning. They're just grabbing and firing as quick as they could. But we need to know the 12-step military drill of loading the musket. So we're going to start the men at order arms and tell them to shoulder arms. Now, this would be the most common way of carrying the weapon on the march. And if you are infantry in the line, the weapon will go on the left shoulder. Now we're going to tell the men to load by 12 commands. Load. Open, pin. Handle, cartridge. Now, as I said before, the cartridge is a paper tube. It's got ball and powder rolled up in it. Now, these are crimped over, and the only way we can open it is to tear cartridge. They would bite off the end of it, spit it out, and prime. So we're going to pour gunpowder into the priming pan. We then tell them to shut pen and cast about. Charge cartridge. The remaining powder is poured into the barrel. The ball would stay in the paper, we'd wad it up and stuff it into the muzzle. Now we got to drive it to the breech. So tell them to draw ramrod. And ram cartridge. So they'd sling it in, pack it tight, return ramrod. And shoulder arms. The weapon is then brought up to the left shoulder, which tells the officer that they're loaded and ready to go. And the quickest time on the field, this should be done in 20 seconds. Now, it can be difficult because you are being shot at. About face. So when we see them at that left shoulder, we know the last 3 commands of ready, aim, and boom. Shoulder, arms. We go to the shoulder and we do it all over. Again, everything is one shot. Now that